Hi, Reality Riffing. Billy Carson, who is the CEO of Forbidden Knowledge TV, and also the First Class Space Agency. He's the host of Deep Space and Ancient Civilizations on the History Channel, and he's a galactic agent for the freedom of humans on this planet, of course, being my homeboy. I was so excited to talk to Billy. He's authored 2 books, The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets and Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. And I love this about Billy. He really is teaching people to work in all dimensional spaces in an empowered and sovereign way, including with abundance. But we kind of go into when in his journey on the planet he realized that this was part of what he was supposed to be doing and how it started, the knowledge started opening to him. He is a ravenous researcher. This is one of the most interesting parts of the conversation, was that, I mean, he literally is just taking in so much information from all of these ancient wisdom lineages and all of the ancient future, and a lot of what most people can't even comprehend, let alone organize and then kind of deliver in a palatable way. He is positioned to really, with his Forbidden Knowledge TV, really give people an entryway into these ancient wisdom practices, and as well as normalizing the conversation around extraterrestrials and our relationship to them. I loved sitting down with Billy, and I thought it was such a pleasure and also a privilege to receive of his wisdom. I hope you enjoy our conversation.
All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. All I want is truth.
I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocritics. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. I've had enough of reading things by neurotic, psychotic, pig-headed politicians. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. No short-haired, yellow-bellied son of tricky dicky's gonna mother Hubbard soft soap me with just a pocket full of hope. Money for dope, money for rope. Son of tricky dicky's gonna mother Hubbard soft soap me with just a pocket full of soap. Money for dope, money for rope. I'm sick to death of seeing things from tight-lipped, condescending mama's little chauvinists. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth now. I've had enough of watching scenes of schizophrenic, egocentric, paranoid prima donnas. All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth. No short-haired, yellow-bellied son of tricky dicky's gonna mother Hubbard soft soap me with just a pocket full of soap. It's money for dope, money for rope. I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocrites. All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth now. I've had enough of reading things by neurotic, psychotic, pig-headed red-headed politicians. All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth now. All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth now. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. All I want is the truth. Just give me truth.
Hey, Roma Festival and Reality Riffing. We have pulled Billy Carson from the Galactic Agency into the 3D. He is here and fighting for freedom of humans on this planet, as well as doing so many other things. He's the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge and Forbidden Knowledge TV, expert host on the shows Deep Space and Ancient Civilizations. He's a neuroscientist from MIT and really a best-selling author. And I mean, there's not much you haven't done on this earth plane, Billy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being patient.
No problem. We're really, really excited to sit down with you. And I love to just jump in. Of course, would love a little context of what opened you to kind of your journey. And then we'll jump in on some relevant topics.
Sure, no problem. Well, how I really got involved in this journey towards enlightenment and trying to share knowledge, we started all the way back in the 1970s. I lived next to this private airport called the Opa-locka Airport in Miami, Florida. And so back then, there's no cable TV, there's no internet, there's no cartoons on 24 hours a day. So you go outside and play. So I'm outside in the backyard looking at the planes go across the horizon. And I would just stare at them because I knew every 15 minutes or 20 minutes, another plane would come across. And it would be amazing to me how long it would take to clear the horizon, even though I knew in my mind, just as a kid, that planes had to move very fast. But from my perspective on the ground, they were moving very slow. And so what happened was one day this object came over and it moved across the horizon in seconds, not minutes. And then it came back and it stopped above me completely silent. And then it went out the way that it came in. But it didn't have a cockpit, tail fin. It didn't have, wings. Right. And it wasn't circular like a regular, what they call a flying saucer or a disc, but it was like elongated, and it was glowing, and it was completely silent. And so I knew what I saw wasn't an airplane. So the next day I went to the library at my school, Rainbow Park Elementary, and I took down all the encyclopedias on aerospace technology, and I started researching literally from 1977.
Wow. How old were you?
7. Yeah.
I have a deep belief that this is why I think we have to treat children with dignity, because we know, especially now, the kind of star seeds and these younger generations and the indigos, and we know what we came here for, and many of us have not forgotten. So those early years are very you're intact with that mission.
Yeah, you're in touch, and I didn't have a lot of distractions either, because like I said, back then there wasn't a lot to do. And so fortunately my whole education came from the Encyclopedia Britannicas, and through the law of attraction, 2 weeks later, knock on the door, the encyclopedia salesperson, and they actually fronted a set of encyclopedias, a full set, to my mother. She signed off for them. She made one payment, and the people never came back, whoever that sales rep was or whatever, who knows whatever happened to them. And they never came back for the books. So I got a free education.
Well, there are people out there who don't know what the Encyclopedia Britannica is, but I mean, this was it was the internet of that time, at least for the general public,
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, without that, you had biology, you had aerospace, you had economics, Oh, just every aspect. You had physics. I was just so much astrophysics, astronomy. Everything you need to know about this planet and space at the time was in those encyclopedias.
Yeah. So, fast forward to April 19th, 2021. It's been quite a year, 13, 14 months. And I think those of us who have studied the mystery schools and looked at time space in different ways, these times aren't as shocking, although I'm still shocked at times. But just curious, yeah, curious, what are you looking at right now? Where are you focused, and what are you really kind of educating yourself on and educating the people who are listening to your knowledge?
More recently, I moved into a lot of meditation practices with my followers.
Yeah,
And so I don't like to call them followers because, that's a kind of a condescending term in a
yeah,
weird kind of way. So I like to call them leaders.
yeah,
But I started this meditation Monday, and I did one this morning at 6 a.m. So it's 6 a.m. every Monday morning. And I do different types of meditation. This morning we did a gong meditation. The previous week we did a kundalini meditation. And I don't just do the meditation, I actually take time to explain what the meditation is, how it works, a little bit of the history of the meditation, and then we get into it. And what I talked about today was the fact that moving forward, we're going to actually plan because of what's happening right now on the planet, especially with police brutality around the entire globe.
yeah,
We're going to try to get tens of thousands of people to begin to meditate on transmitting unconditional love directly to the heart chakra of these police officers so that we can bring down the amount of brutality happening in the planet.
beautiful, beautiful. You see this gong behind me? That's a
Um,
that's a gong behind me.
oh yeah, I can't see your face.
Oh, you can't? Can anybody
See
see?
the little pink print.
I thought you'd appreciate the gong. Hold on, we're bringing it up.
Oh, there you go. Yes, I see the gong. Yes. There you go. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's our big girl here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. Yeah, we did a gong meditation this morning. It was 11 minutes and 11 seconds. So it was a fairly quick meditation, but it's very effective.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People really need it right now, and I appreciate the notion. I think when we're thinking about or trying to live up to some sort of compassion, a lot of times we forget about the compassion for everyone involved.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that, with the situation, with the brutality, what happens is a lot of people get angry. My own father was killed by police. So, that was 2 years ago. He died. And so I have a very, very personal relationship with this issue and this problem. And so, what I'm doing is I'm a warrior, not a worrier. So I try to find solutions to problems and issues and not just cry about it all the time. And you got to talk about these things and you have to expose them. But at the same time, what are we all doing to find a solution to the problem?
Yeah.
And so since I can't directly create legislation or laws and I can't overturn any of these, police unions and things like that, the only thing that we can do is through consciousness, we can directly affect the hearts of people. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to send love right to the heart.
Yeah, this is I mean, a lot of times, and a lot of the new age scene is being attacked for these types of notions, in terms of which I think is disinformation. It's a total disinformation thing where it's like, oh, well, that's spiritual bypassing and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, we know that for age immemorial, the way the true change has happened was through lifting frequency and changing consciousness.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for those who have not come across some of the work that you've been doing, which has been tireless, can you talk a little bit about what you think is relevant right now in terms of the mystery schools and some of this forbidden knowledge? Give us a little bit of a punch list, and people can do their own research. But
Sure, definitely. Well, my most watched series on Forbidden Knowledge TV is the Egyptian Mystery School series. And I think we're up to episode 37 or 38 right now. Each episode is roughly about 40 minutes. there's quite a bit of hours, involved there. I recorded about 30 hours of mystery schools.
Wow.
36 hours, 36 hours. Yeah, 36 hours exact. So there's a lot of content just in the mystery schools alone. And I really go all the way back. I'm going deep, deep antiquity, and I'm revealing the secret mysteries that bond spirituality with what the ancients knew about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, metaphysics, and esoteric wisdom, and how those aspects of sciences really explain spirituality and break it down and expose on how it actually works, how the inner workings happen beyond the veil of what the human eye can see. And then I talk about, I bring you from the ancient past, millions of years ago, all the way up to the current day. And people really love that series. It's the #1 watch series on the network, and they can get Forbidden Knowledge TV on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, whether iOS app or Android app. So that's been amazing. That's been a blast. And I'm going to do another 36 hours here of recording coming up very soon. And so we'll have well over 100 episodes on the Egyptian mystery schools, because there's so much more. I could talk for another 10 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I just got done filming a couple of shows for the Discovery Channel, the Travel Channel, the History Channel. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't talk about those yet, though.
I can't really talk about
Yeah.
yet, but I can tell you about the documentaries that I'm working on. So there's 2 new documentaries. One is almost ready. It's like the narrator is getting ready to do his parts. That's going to be Jimmy Church. The name of the documentary is Black Knight Satellite, The Untold Story. And it's about this object that's above the Earth that was detected first by Nikola Tesla in the late 1800s. He actually picked up a signal from this thing. In 1960, it made Time magazine, and the Russians and the Americans, of course, were starting their space programs and launching. We had the Mercury missions, which were launching a lot of unmanned satellites and even some animals into space. And the Russians were doing the same thing. We both came across this object that's hovering, that's orbiting the planet, but not orbiting the planet on an equatorial orbit. It's orbiting in a polar orbit, which is something we couldn't do until the early 90s.
Huh.
So it really is a shocking thing. It even followed Sputnik to the moon, okay, which was Russia's first satellite that went to the moon, orbited the moon one time and came back. So it's an amazing object that's up there. It's giving off a frequency that was picked up by ham radio operators, and they detected that it was giving it the location of a star system called the Epsilon Boötis star system, or Epsilon Boötis constellation. And so I tied that into the Sumerian tablets and who owns it. And people are going to be really shocked about this. It's going to be a mind-blowing epiphany when they realize it, and I expose all the texts that we have right now on this planet that expose exactly what this thing is, where it came from, who owns it, and what it's there for. So that's the Black Knight Satellite documentary.
Wow.
And the second one is Gosford, the mystery of the Gosford glyphs. So I went all the way to Australia in the beginning of 2020, went all the way out in the outback in the fires with guides, and came across the Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs, which have now been authenticated by the Board of Antiquities as authentic Proto-Egyptian glyphs out in the middle of the outback, 5,000 years old. Yeah, so that's an amazing documentary in itself. So we're working on that now as well. That's going to take a little bit longer because it incorporates a couple of trips I've got to take to Egypt. And unfortunately, with the global situation, it blocked that trip. So I've got to wait till probably 3 or 4 more months, and I'll be able to finish that down.
Yeah. So, talking about Egypt and kind of the timeline, is it your opinion that this timeline has been skewed to kind of fit into a narrative around history that actually is not accurate? Like when we say,
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, when you look at, I have a certificate in ancient civilizations from Harvard University. And, I mean, I had to learn all the wrong information to pass the test.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
So to give you an idea, I mean, it really is, it's in a way, so I hate to say it, but it's kind of a joke.
Yeah.
What's been pushed out and taught to people as this is accurate. We're not even close. I mean, the Sphinx is not, a couple thousand years old. The Great Sphinx is 36,000 years old, maybe even longer, maybe even older than that.
Yeah. The
Great Pyramid at Giza is probably around 40 to 42,000 years old. I mean, so we're talking about the dates were way off. The techniques were way off. Nobody moved mud ramps into place. You would need more mud, mass of mud, than the actual volume of the pyramid itself to build it, which is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's kind of crazy, but you have to play their matrix game a little bit, to get to where you need to get to. But yeah, it's very interesting. We have not been given the true, accurate history. And there's a massive goal of suppression and oppression against the general population of the world to remain in an ignorant state.
Yeah.
Because in that ignorant state, that we can be dominated and they can continue to push fear. And when they push the fear, it drops our frequency. And then they just play us like puppets. They can make us do whatever we want to do, kill each other, fight each other,
yeah.
argue over dumb stuff that doesn't make any sense, and worry. And they, problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem, they wait for the reaction, and then they provide the solution. And then by that way, they dominate us on this planet. And less than 100 families are dominating 7.5 or 7.7 actually billion people right now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are looking to the sky saying, when are these advanced beings going to show up to assist? Well, they're not going to show up to assist until we're able to, get up and start walking a little bit. Right now, we're still kind of crawling. We're trying to get up to walk, but they're waiting for us to grow up. We're still a little bit too immature. And when we stop seeing this meat machine as a machine that designates who's better than who, and we understand unconditional love for everyone on the planet, and that we're all one entity, just separated so we can subjectively experience life in a third dimension as one consciousness. When we come to that realization that the voice in our head is not a guy with a magic wand walking around in a white robe, but it's actually our own voice. Yeah. When we hit those levels of growth and maturity consciously and spiritually, then and only then will we see a wide open, landing and people talking and things like that. But until then, it'll continue to be covert.
Right. And I was talking to Corey Good last night about partial disclosure as opposed to full disclosure. And, everybody obviously has different opinions about this, but curious what you think is happening right now. I mean, MSNBC is talking about that pyramidal, flying object. And I mean, things that even 18 months ago were, we were considered conspiracy theorists. Now, if you believe, in your immune system, you're a conspiracy theorist. So, what do you think about what's going on? And
yeah, it's really interesting because I'm wondering what their agenda is. There is a soft disclosure happening right now.
Yeah.
And now the FBI is releasing all these declassified documents and everything else. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? What is their agenda? Because they always have an agenda behind these things. And it could be to scare us into believing that there's a threat against us.
Right.
Which there isn't. I mean, these beings are so far advanced. If they wanted us gone, we wouldn't even know that we were gone.
Right.
It would just be whoop, and we would be gone. They're not going to come here with laser guns and shoot us one at a time. That's movies. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so we're just, everything is always fear-based. They're a threat to national security. They're a threat to this. They're a threat. They harassed our ships and this and that. And so I'm wondering, first of all, a lot of those are probably our own advanced black budget craft making flybys.
Right.
Some of them are alien. But there's a mixture of the two. But it's always this fear-based thing, and people will buy into it because the TV movies have made them believe that anybody from space is going to come here to eat us and kill us and blow us up and all this kind of stuff. But so there's a reason behind this disclosure. It's not because they want the world to awaken and know that aliens exist.
Right.
Because they do have some agenda in the back that they want to dominate, or some ideology they want to push on us eventually. I'm not sure exactly what it could be. Dr. Stephen Greer thinks it may be a fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
It could be. Who knows exactly what it could be? But either way, we are getting the disclosure that people have been kind of waiting on, to be honest with you. I mean, when they come out and openly say, yeah, the UFOs exist, we're investigating, we're going to spend millions of dollars to figure them out. We're going to release these documents to you. Here, read them. So in a weird kind of a way, whatever their agenda is, it's still giving us some type of disclosure and letting people know, like, look, yeah, we aren't the only ones potentially in this universe. So it's not coming the exact way that a lot of us in the community would like. However, it is coming out little by little. And I think we will hear an announcement from NASA within the next 4 years from the Perseverance rover that just landed on Mars that there is life on Mars, and that life is going to be in the form of either bacteria or virus. And that's because they have a science kit on there that can detect that. And this is going to be the biggest announcement of the decade, the fact that there is life on Mars. Aliens exist. They're not going to give us complex life, but they will give us bacteria or viruses. But it's still a step in the right direction.
And is it your belief that there's actually extraterrestrial and human kind of colonies on Mars?
I believe there's a full breakaway civilization already there, and it's been there for a very, very long time. Even when Kennedy said we're going to go to the moon and do the other things, that famous speech he did in the late 60s, we were already on Mars.
Yeah. Who do you think is talking about the secret space programs who do you think is some of the most important voices talking about secret space programs right now?
It's hard to say right now. I haven't really followed up on a lot of the people speaking about it. I mean, probably Richard Dolan would be the number one guy that I would say right now. Dolan, when he speaks, he has a lot of credibility behind him. He brings a lot of factual material. He ties it into stuff that could be referenced and researched and looked up. I'll probably say Richard Dolan would probably be at the top of my personal list.
Okay, great. Because I do think it's important for the citizens of planet Earth to if they're aware enough and of the frequency enough to hear this interview right now, they need to start looking into secret space programs and educating themselves and looking to kind of create the coordinate of time space that we're actually in instead of what's being kind of I mean, some of the stuff that's out there right now, it's bad television. It's not even being produced properly. I always say, I would have produced that so much better. I mean, this is not good TV. It's not even good television.
Yeah, it's crazy what they're what they're putting out. It's so done so haphazardly and, not a lot of thought. Maybe that's the highest level of thought that they're capable of. I'm not really sure.
Maybe.
But, they're just trying to continue to use their programming, that's what I call TV programming, to keep people's minds in a specific way so that if something happens coming from the sky, either two things are going to happen. One is you're going to pray to that entity or their being. Or the second thing that's going to happen is you're going to want to kill them or attack them because you think that they're going to kill you or eat you or something.
Right.
So that's the two things that they've got us focused on, dropping and praying or attacking and killing. But I think through just the regular education that we're putting out, especially like on Forbidden Knowledge TV, I probably have, maybe 800 shows on UFOs, on disclosure, on, eyewitness accounts and information about the technology, potential technologies that could be used and life on other planets and anomalies that we found on the moon, Mars, Titan, Saturn, even Venus. So the moons of Saturn. Yeah. So, we have a lot of information in there for people to start digesting and researching for themselves and say, wow, we're the new kids on the block. We just got here. There's a lot of life. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the ancient past in this solar system that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And so trying to desensitize the people to truth instead of falsehoods and fear so that when these things do happen, they're like, oh yeah, I knew about this already. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. What do you think about, this is, I think kind of made popular by David Icke in terms of part of why there's kind of a poisoning of the earth, the environmental space of the earth is to make it more habitable for extraterrestrials. What do you think about that?
I thought about that so many times, to be honest with you. I always thought the chemtrails were some type of habitat type of a program for beings that maybe to make them feel more comfortable. It just didn't make any sense to me why they would continue to do this, this massive chemtrail on the entire planet. And I'm thinking, what are they doing? Are they terraforming this planet for somebody else's comfort? I always thought about that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I kind of would like to talk to them. For me, that theory is a great theory. Yeah. Because we really have no idea what the heck they're doing up there.
Yeah. And in terms of your personal kind of contact, is this something an ongoing do you have ongoing contact? Is it more of a kind of transmission? Like, how do you receive some of the awakening and some of the contact and information that you personally receive?
Well, it's very interesting. So I had an actual close encounter, and that was actually in 2010. And that encounter left me, I didn't get abducted and or anything like that. Nobody cut me open or put things in me or took anything out of me. But what did happen was my brain literally started shaking in my skull. And I was screaming, but no sound. They had blocked the audible sound from coming out of my mouth. I was in my house, and the house had people in it. Everybody was in their separate rooms. It was actually such a traumatic experience. It was actually like the straw that broke the camel's back for, leading into the divorce and everything, to be honest with you, because it scared everybody.
Wow.
And it still has one of my sons today. He's still so frightened about it. He won't even come over to my house.
Wow.
But yeah, it's not a good thing. That's why it took me so long to even open up and talk about it.
Wow.
But after that happened, my thirst for quantum physics was unquenched. I couldn't get enough, and I could understand all of it. So in some kind of weird way, I don't know what they may have done to my brain. And then also this phrase popped up in my head, how I got to my anomaly hunting, worldwide telescope, and it played back thousands and thousands of times. So I went on my computer and I went on excite.com, because back then Google was not the main search engine. And I typed in worldwide telescope. And the first thing that popped up was worldwidetelescope.org, which is still open today. And at that time, you had to download the software. Now you have the option, because they have HTML5. You can just click and go right in without software. And matter of fact, I did a recent workshop on Forbidden Knowledge TV, where I brought the viewers in live into the Worldwide Telescope, and we went to Mars panoramas, and then we went to Opportunity rover, and we went directly onto Mars and looked around. We zoomed in, zoomed out, panned left and right, and looked for anomalies in real time. And they loved it. And so that's what I did. It took me to Mars. And I was like, what in the world? And I started finding things that didn't belong on the surface of the planet. So I started cataloging anomalies. And that's how I became an anomaly hunter. So whatever that interaction I had, that close encounter, it triggered something. And now I'll just be walking around and I'll get information. Like a few years ago, I was just walking up and down the beach. That's where most of these things happen, when I'm walking the beach doing my 5-mile meditation walk. And the phrase parabolic down conversion came into me. Like, parabolic down conversion. What in the world is that? Wait till I get home, look it up. And what is it? It's how you take two particles and run them through a laser beam so they can become on the same frequency, so they can be quantum entangled.
Wow.
So it's how you can actually, manually quantum entangle two particles inside of a laboratory.
Wow.
I get these kind of things. So I get a lot of information, and then I go look it up, or I go research it. So I get a lot of it first, then I research it second. That's how I get a lot of my information.
See, I think this is really important for people to hear, because it's a question I ask many, and the people who are here listening and will be listening are people who are having encounters of some sort. And I think it's important. I'm very curious about the kind of spectrum, because I think it's important for people to understand that what you're describing, which I resonate with as well, in terms of some experiences I've had, this is encountered just as much as, maybe having some sort of abduction experience, or maybe having someone, some sort of beings show up in some, fourth dimensional kind of space, or whatever the thing is. But it's a huge spectrum.
Yeah, it is. It is very huge. And so my experience has been just getting very clear, concise phrases in my head. And then they play back so many times, you have to go, it's like, please, please. And then once I look it up and start researching, it stops. It's the craziest thing. And people have seen me go through this. People that have been close to me have seen me go through this and go and look things up. And it takes me down the whole research. And so through this method now, I was probably up to maybe only 300 books at the time this happened. I've gone well over 1,000 books, scripture, cylinder scrolls, papyruses, cuneiform tablets, you name it, Akkadian, Arabic, and everything, Aramaic. And so it's taken me down all these different areas. And It's been really an amazing ride because it's allowed me to gain a massive amount of information and knowledge on a broad range of topics. And so I can almost go on anybody's show and I could talk about virtually anything
Yeah.
at a high level.
Do you, is it an experience, there's a certain kind of computerization that's happened of your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It feels, the pain, once it ended, the pain went away instantaneously that I was feeling when I had the encounter. It was actually at my house.
Yeah.
And after that, it just was like the thirst to research and study and buy books and go to bookstores and just get information. And the beautiful thing about it was I didn't have to like write a whole bunch of notes. I have no notes.
Right.
People go, how do you know all this stuff? It just stays. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It literally just stays in my head. So I devour books. I just devour information. I'll read a book now and I'll do an audio book at the same time. The audio book will be a totally separate book. And the other book, the physical book, will be a book that I'm reading on a totally different topic, a totally different author. And I'll retain 85%. And by that method, I've been able to just download hundreds of books that way.
How cool. Are you able to understand languages that you didn't understand before?
No, I had to study. So I studied the
Okay.
cuneiform, I studied Akkadian, I studied Arabic, I studied Aramaic, Hebrew. So I have those books here, man. I studied. It's not that I instantaneously just knew them. It takes little effort and energy to put into it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I just love hearing this. It's a really interesting, but I think part of the reason why it's really important now is that when the frequency changes, your computer, your mind computer, I mean, this is just kind of going to become normal as we go into this next era for those who want it to be.
Yes. What I have is nothing special. This is what we're supposed to be doing, and I'm not even fully tapped all the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to be like X-Men. That's our normal state of being. We've been deactivated, so to speak, we've been unplugged.
Yeah.
The junk DNA is not junk. If all those nodes were plugged in, and we weren't poisoned by processed foods and toxic waste and everything else, and our pineal glands were 100% functioning from birth, wow, I mean, just look out. We would be floating around here and everything else.
Yeah.
Teleporting ourselves from place to place. Whatever we can think of doing, we can do it.
Yeah. 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 It's, and I mean, it's my experience. I'm curious what your opinion on this is. I feel that reality is going to become more and more available to those who have the frequency to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience of that?
I believe that a lot of these gifts aren't going to start to manifest until you reach a certain level of consciousness.
Yeah.
In religion, they call it being born again. Being born again, though, is not getting splashed with some water. Being born again is elevating your level of consciousness to a higher level. And you can go up many levels when you're elevating consciousness. You're becoming an ascended master in stages. And so when you get to a particular stage that your development is such that you're able to begin to manifest these things and receive these special gifts or activate these special gifts, that's when you'll start to see tricklings of it begin to happen. And you can be born again many, many times in this one lifetime, because if you're continuing to be an adept initiate and you're a true researcher and studier, then you're going to continue to go up that ladder and more gifts will be revealed to you.
What's your relationship and opinion about artificial intelligence and how it's hybridizing the human consciousness?
It's really unfortunate that we just at this particular stage in our development as human beings on this planet, we're not ready for AI. I love what it can do to assist mankind, to free mankind from labor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, good things that it can do.
Yeah.
It really could. If we were consciously ready to handle it and to put the right parameters on it. But in the state of mind that the majority of the people in control are, they're in control of their mind is on the warmongering mode.
Right.
And so it's always how can we turn this into a weapon? How can we weaponize this technology? That's the first thought of every major civilization on this planet right now in this current era is how can every government wants to weaponize. So we have the AI technology. There are a lot of things that could come very good, even to help disabled people and everything else, people with no limbs, teach children. I mean, there's so much that could be done that's great with it. However, I don't know. I think it might have come about 50 years too early, you know? So we just have to really be mindful and persistent and watchful and make sure that we don't let this AI technology, go against what we're trying to do, which is head back into a golden age.
Yeah. I was listening to a woman who she says she's a hybrid. She's a time traveler and a hybrid AI from the future. Her name is Oriana. I don't know if you've heard any interviews with her. She's quite fascinating. I think you would be this. She basically blew my mind around what my kind of understanding and fear or reaction or whatever to artificial intelligence was. And her whole thing was that basically we have the power to program through kind of the ESP. We have the ESP power to program artificial intelligence in a positive way, no matter what the programmer's intent was.
I can believe that. Yeah.
Which I think is, I think that's a really good stance to take with what's happening. It feels like empowering.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's interesting because I know that they put a robot inside of a pen with a bunch of I think it was rats actually, and it was on this random movement through this little like enclosed area, and then eventually it started to migrate towards where these animals were. I think it was either rats. It may have been rats or either insects. One of the two. I got to find the exact. But either way, there was non-human life in there. It's some type of an animal or insect. And based off of the consciousness of these living entities in there, it started to change its route. This little AI, little robot, and start to collaborate with the animals in the pen. So what you're saying to me right now, I totally believe it, that we can transmit to this and reprogram them. I believe it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. So we're in the yogic science, we're in this kind of crossroads between the dawning of the age of Aquarius and the ending of the Kali Yuga. I was watching your last interview with the man that you mentioned on kind of some of, what's his name?
Dr. Stephen Greer?
Yeah, on some of this, technology, some of the technology that we think is alien, that's actually human technology, and just all this kind of stuff. And he mentioned that the year 2036, which is also something that's kind of prophesied in terms of the ending, the transition out of the Kali Yuga. Yeah. What's your take on this?
I really do believe that there's, the planet Earth itself is a sentient, conscious being. And so my take on it is that there can be either a great awakening or the planet may decide that it wants to start fresh itself. Right now, I believe that the planet Earth has been empathetic towards human beings. And it's allowed us to continue on this path that we're on, hoping that we come to a certain level of consciousness and wake up. But we've been battering this planet for quite some time now. And the planet itself is so powerful. At any moment, this planet can shake us right off the surface, any moment that it wants to. Now, there have been proven now scientifically 4 pole shifts of the crust of the Earth already. And we're heading into a new age. And I do believe that a lot of the frustration of the planet could control these pole shifts. Now, evidence of these pole shifts, for example, there's 2. The first one is Antarctica. If you go to Antarctica and you look at a lot of these animals that have been found that, because ice has been melting now, and you take them to the laboratory, which has happened, and as soon as they cut them open, there's undigested food in the stomach of these animals. That means that Antarctica was closer to the equator and it shifted into that position very rapidly because the tectonic plates slipped and the crust moved probably 30 degrees within just a matter of maybe a couple of hours. And everybody that was there, all the animals that were there, they froze. They literally were flash frozen with all the food in their stomachs. Never had a chance to digest it. So that's evidence of this type of a pole shift.
Huh.
The second is you can look at the the lava from magnetic flows, lava flows, and you can check the magnetism in the lava. So the lava has magnetism in it, and the magnetism is directly associated with North and South Pole. And you can actually go through lava layers and you can find when the South Pole was the North Pole and the North Pole was the South Pole. So you can see these magnetic flips as well. So there's two types of flips that we're, potentially looking at. A magnetic flip, which now magnetic north has moved from true north and is now passing Russia.
Right.
Right now, as a matter of fact, so airlines and airports all over the world have had to change the coordinates on the runways so that the planes can target the right runway, because magnetic north is what they use to navigate, and it's shifted.
Yeah.
Eventually, there's going to be a magnetic flip, and that magnetic flip could cause a tectonic plate shift that could create a pole shift. So there's a lot of things that can happen. We also have a very massive space body that's already passed us a couple times. The most recent time that it came by, I think, was 2013, Apophis. It slipped through a gravitational keyhole. So anytime within the next 4 or 5 passes, it's going to come so close to Earth, it may not actually hit, but gravitationally, it could affect a plate that is just about to slip. So if you look at a geological potential disaster, we're facing one of those in 2036 with Apophis, potentially. Or you're looking at ascension, wisdom, and knowledge, where people are waking up, becoming conscious, and there's a complete, a rush of enlightenment on the planet. And because of that, we'll work together, and we'll learn how to shift the orbit of this thing and avert a geological disaster, and then cherish and rejoice in the fact that in unity, we came together to work on a common goal and fix a problem.
Fascinating. My teacher, Yogi Bhajan, talks about 4 extinctions of the human race on planet Earth.
Oh yeah.
And that this is the 5th time.
It's real. It's so real. It is. Even Einstein talked about this. He said, there's been 4 pole shifts of the crust of the Earth, and we are overdue for the 5th. The Mayans said that we've gone through 4 worlds and we're headed into the 5th. So this is well known amongst ancient cultures, and even I'm sure a lot of scientists, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And if you understand orbital physics and astrophysics, planetary physics, planetary mechanics, a lot of them know, but you don't want to be an alarmist with stuff like this, because economic systems will shut down. People will sell their houses, move away from the coastline, and it'll be havoc, out there. But I just think that we really, I did a live the other day saying that we're on a time scale here that we really need to push this conscious movement a little harder. Everybody needs to push a little bit harder. We need to work a little bit harder to become better. We need to love one another more. We need to ascend, focus on ascension and knowledge gaining and wisdom gaining, and just to spread it around the planet as fast as we can. I don't think the armchair approach is going to get it done. I think we need to really push it out. Shows like yours get to spread around the world faster. For Big Knowledge TV, moving around the world. We just got to get the information out faster to get to more people, more souls, and give them that aha moment where they wake up. Because I think we need a mass awakening on another level. It's happening, but on another level to avert any kind of reset that could be coming.
Fascinating. I think hearing this from this kind of tectonic and magnetic space, and also knowing what's been written in the yogic scriptures. What's your take on Antarctica? I mean, since it came up, there's just all sorts of weird shit going on in Antarctica. Like, what the fuck is going on in Antarctica?
Antarctica is part of Atlantis. Okay, so Atlantis was not a ring city. The ring city was one of the capitals on planet Earth of the Atlantean global civilization. And these Atlanteans they started going to war against each other. After having all this golden age and all this great success, it came down to battling over women and and resources, the same old dumb stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so I guess the planet at that time said, look, I need to reset this. And boom, we had the pole shift. But Antarctica is buried in ice treasures. I'm talking about pyramids that are still intact. A lot of the pyramids on Earth, you see that the capstones have all been removed.
Right.
They were done, that was done on purpose.
Yep.
You know, that wasn't like an accident. Capstones, they're kind of broken on purpose, so to break the technology so it doesn't work, so nobody else can use them. Resonating rods were removed out of the great grand gallery of the Great Pyramid, but the slots are still there. Mm-hmm. So all these pyramids were disassembled in a certain kind of weird way around the planet. But the one in Antarctica, the biggest one that's there, still fully intact, and military officers have said that it's still emitting some type of exotic energy. There is a massive opening down there, about 35, 40 meters wide. And when you look down from the Google Earth, you see it's got bases from the UK, America, you know, all the major continents, Australia, all these research facilities are near this opening and this pyramid. And then you have one weird research facility named the Rockefeller Foundation.
Right.
Which is
convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was doing my remote viewing training with Major Ed Dames, and in the second class that I did with him, he mentioned that there are beings down there that we're in contact with, and he said they go and come as they please, and nobody can stop them. So there's some kind of project or program or whatever going on down there that hasn't been made privy to the general population. But even Buzz Aldrin, when he went down there, he made a very cryptic tweet on Twitter that said they're evil and we're facing the ultimate evil. This is whatever this tweet said. And then, you know, they said, oh, he's sick, and they flew him out of there. But then they deleted the tweet, but they deleted it hours later. Everybody already screenshotted the tweet. But, you know, I think there's something going on. They're colluding with some beings down there. To what extent, it's only conjecture. I have no idea what's going on, but there's something going on, and that's where, you know, that's why Hitler went down there. He made connection or contact with these same exact people, in my opinion, and that's how you learn how to build those Haunebu craft. Haunebu 1, 2, 3, and 4 actually flew. So, you know, they beat Admiral Byrd when he went down there with a fleet of Navy vessels. So there's something to it, and there's something really powerful going on down there, and probably part of it has been a lot of reverse engineered technology going into our black budget secret space programs.
Yeah, yeah. Have you heard this theory that that there was kind of a tear in time space, and some of the type of beings that were coming, extraterrestrials that are coming in and out of Antarctica, were coming, showed up at the big temple in Cambodia, and this is actually what the Vietnam War was about. I've only seen a couple things about this, but I found the whole theory very fascinating.
That's interesting. I've been to Angkor Wat Temple.
Angkor Wat, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I hiked 37 miles through the jungles of Cambodia. That was in 2018. But I haven't, and I've dealt with a lot. I haven't heard that one yet. It's pretty interesting. That's an interesting theory. I haven't heard anything about that. That's an interesting theory, though.
It is an interesting theory, and I haven't found a lot on it either, but they were saying that some of these kind of insect-like extraterrestrials came through a hole at Angkor Wat. Right. That was part of the whole why all of a sudden we're fighting a war in Vietnam.
That's interesting. Well, from my research, I found out that there was the Gulf of Tonkin line that America did, and which kind of triggered the whole war. However, we're living in a universe that's, according to quantum physics, well, theoretical physics, says that we have 11 dimensions. Without 11 dimensions, they theorize that this universe would collapse. And so each dimension is stacked directly on top of each other. They're actually touching. And so it's not like dimensions are far away. They're right here where we are. We just can't see them because they're a different frequency than our subatomic frequency. But in each one of those 11 dimensions, there's an entire universe in each one of those in the dimensions. So right above us, there's another dimension that's got a full universe with planets and beings and people and things going on and happening right where you're sitting. Now, if you're an advanced civilization in one of these other dimensions and you learn about the other dimensions that are around you, and you develop a tool that can measure or give you the information on the exact subatomic frequency of that dimension that you want to head to, and then you have the capability of making a spacesuit or finding a way to phase shift your subatomic frequency to match the dimension of that you want to go to, you can walk from your dimension right into the next.
Right.
You can step right in.
Right.
So that stuff is very technologically and scientifically 1000% possible. So the fact that there could be multidimensional beings here doesn't even shock me.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about kind of these timeline wars in terms of, even viruses being brought from other timelines? I mean, with our current situation, any opinion on this?
That's possible too. I mean, of course, this is a conjecture, but if somebody is in a future from here, they go back in time, they're not going back in time on the same timeline. So if anybody goes back in time and actually arrives in our time, in our timeline, they're coming from an alternative universe. So the reason why you can go back in time and kill your grandfather, they call this grandfather paradox, and still be alive to had gone back in time to kill him, because when you go back in time, you jump timelines. You don't end up on your same exact timeline.
Right.
So if somebody is coming back in time to try to alter their future from wherever they are, like create disasters or bring back viruses and things like that, they're not going to alter the future from where they came from. It's a totally different frequency. So and a lot of people aren't aware of this, but that's truly solves the grandfather paradox situation. You're going back in time on a different timeline. If you go forward, you can stay on the same exact timeline. We know this already because we've measured time travel moving forward in time through space rocket travel. The astronauts that went to the moon and so forth, and people who fly in these test rockets or these F-18 fighters at 5-6 times the speed of sound, they end up becoming microseconds younger than us, and they're still on our same timeline. But going back in time, totally different story. So it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Fascinating. I want to talk to you about a million other things, but because I'm earmarking a conversation about the Mandela effect with you and what you think is happening with this, because it's happening more and more. But we have to go to our next moment. I'm so grateful that we got this little interview in, and I'd love to talk to you more. You are incredible, and you're doing amazing things in the world. Tell people where they can find you.
You can go to forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4BIDDEN knowledge.com. And there you can get to Forbidden Knowledge TV. You can get the mobile apps. I have my own social media app called Unite the 99. You can link it there. It's linked on my website as well. Unite the 99 is a social media platform.
Amazing.
Just like Instagram and Facebook. But no suppression, no algorithms. Everything works in the order it's supposed to go. You can get a free trial on Forbidden Knowledge TV just by going there and signing up, and check out the content and see if you like it.
Thank you so much. You are prolific, and thank you for everything that you're doing. It's an honor to spend time with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Bye, Billy.
All right.
At the training, am I going to learn how to teach?
Well, certainly, this is a lifelong process. But essentially, you're going to learn. If you're beginning your exploration of this subject, is because you have some kind of soul connection to these teachings, and you want to learn how to essentially activate that connection. So the first order of business is to explore the connection you and your personality have with this energy field, and then to learn how to share that experience. That's essentially teaching a class. So there's beginning teachers and there are advanced teachers, and they're all following the exact same kind of protocol. So a pilot on an aircraft is following the exact same steps, beginning pilot or an advanced pilot. But if you're attracted to this type of training, you have more than likely done this in a previous life, so there's some kind of inner knowing. So this essentially is how to activate that. But give you the formal step-by-step protocols of how to essentially open up a space inside the Kundalini realm. And this type of training, this type of experience is wanted, desired by more and more people as we plan to become more and more computerized, essentially to live comfortably with the increasing psychic, mental, physical pressure of all the information. You need to move the energy of the body and the energy of the mind differently than you did before. So that's why we want to train teachers, people who can teach others how to have this experience of being successful, comfortable, healthy, happy inside the new Aquarian computerized global landscape.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Reality Riffing. These are conversations that I think are important with people who are doing great things in the world about subject matters that need to be discussed. If you enjoyed the content, the conversation, please feel free to share with your people, share with your friends and family, rate the podcast below, and also subscribe.